Welcome into another episode of Betting the Pitch. This is episode number 180. Thank you for all of you that have been around since the jump, or if you're new, appreciate it. If you're listening on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. If you're on Twitter, follow the real_G Warner. Retweet if you want. Tell your friends. If you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please leave a 5-star review. I will really appreciate that as we try to grow this thing as big as possible. On today's episode, we're going to go through the top 5 European soccer leagues. Finally, they're back. It's been a while. Rough international break with not a really lot to focus on, which is good, though. I guess the NCAA tournament made it a little bit easier to focus on what really, or I guess, bigger financials for me. And, we're going to have an ultimate best bet into show, plus a pregame.com promo code for anybody that wants to subscribe there or potentially check out some other good handicappers. Without further ado, I guess all lines quoted on this podcast are courtesy of betonline.ag, my favorite place to get my bets down early. Reduced juices offer in almost every game you want to bet right up until game time. Please follow the link found in the podcast description to fund your account. Use the promo code GW50 to receive a 50% match bonus up to $1,000. Okay, so we're going to start where the money is, and that is the English Premier League. There's no Friday match, but we'll get through it somehow. Starting on Saturday with a big one, we have Manchester City hosting Liverpool. Currently, Manchester City a 1-goal favorite. All the juice on Liverpool right now. Over/under is 3. Juice to the under. Not really sold on Manchester City being this dominant team, despite their incredible dominance against RB Leipzig in the Champions League. With a lot of international breaks, a lot of international players from both these clubs. It's very possible that be a little bit kind of a getting back into the flow of things type of situation. I do like to see that players have been playing, but also have injury risks and things of that nature, plus some players that might have come back from a long journey. Liverpool just aren't good enough for me to want to back at +1. I think that's the minimum if you want to get invested in them. And I don't necessarily think that's going to be dropped, especially on the road at the Etihad. But I don't know that if anything, I lean over here, but I'm not an over player, as most people know. Just don't really trust Liverpool's defense enough. Next, we'll go to Bournemouth hosting Fulham. Currently, Bournemouth a pick'em with all the juice right now. Over/under's 2.25 juice to the over, and I'm pretty surprised in Bournemouth being a favorite. Potentially even laying a quarter of a goal is at least where this number's been trending. I'm not a believer in Bournemouth. I mean, this is a spot where they need the points for sure, because they don't get them at home. Where will they get them? But Fulham, I think this is also a commentary on how kind of poor Fulham have been recently. I don't know that necessarily I've changed my opinion on them, but the results have not been coming. It's potentially one of those things where they were so dominant and were expected to be a relegation contender that maybe they were running out of steam. I do feel like injuries have played a role. I mean, the Polina suspension for 2 matches for 10 yellow cards was really, really damaging. But I still think they're a better team, better offense. So I'm looking at Fulham. I don't have the quarter of a goal yet that I want to play them. Lean under, I think, also of the available numbers that I'm not necessarily waiting for. I do feel like that one is a little bit interesting, under 2.25, but not sure that's the favorite one for England just for me just yet. Arsenal then hosts Leeds. Arsenal a 1.75 goal favorite. Over/under 3.25. Juice to the under. Leeds are playing differently. They're playing more defensively, but you wouldn't know that by their high scoring game, their last match. I still don't trust them to score goals. So that makes me think that under 3.25 is probably my most interesting part of this matchup, though Arsenal have shown that they can score a ton of goals. Not sure that I really want to fade that. I'm not really a believer in Leeds either. They're more of an under team for me, but they're playing against a team on the road that could probably beat them pretty soundly. Brighton then hosts Brentford. Currently Brighton a 3/4 goal favorite with all the juice right now. Over/under is 2.75 juice to the under. Brentford, they've just been awesome this year. You say the same thing about Brighton. I haven't had a really great time fading Brighton. We're playing their unders in their matches, but I still don't believe their goals are really, they happen, but they don't really feel like they're repeatable. They keep happening. They've been happening all season. Even when De Zerbi took over for Graham Potter when he left for Chelsea, it still doesn't seem like something that should be continuing. When you're hot, and you have momentum, but also that kind of gets thwarted a little bit by the international break. And I think we'll be thwarted by Brentford as well. I love Brentford as an underdog. I think at +1, I'm definitely in. Still waiting to see if that number gets there by the time we kick off tomorrow on Saturday. But That's the way I lean. Also lean to under 2 3/4, but I think my stronger interest is in the Brentford side, though. It does certainly correlate to an under 2 3/4 as well. If I like under, because I generally like road dogs that are going to keep the defense pretty sound at the back. Crystal Palace and host Leicester. Palace a pick'em with all the juice right now. Over under 2 1/4. A little bit more juice to the over. Palace hasn't scored goals in a long time. Their home field advantage, home pitch advantage has kind of worn off the season. Both these teams are in a relegation fight, and that makes me want to look to the underdog. I mean, surprise, surprise, everyone who listens to this, but Leicester are not yet at a quarter goal underdog. So I think until I see that number, I'm not there. It is you're getting odds on Pick'em right now, plus 108 bet online. So I think it's a pretty good possibility we do get a quarter before this kicks off on Saturday morning. Next, we have Nottingham Forest hosting Wolves. Currently, Nottingham Forest, a quarter goal underdog at home with all the juice. Over 2 1/4, very juice to the under. I like the home dog and the under here. I think they correlate very well, if that wasn't obvious already. I don't know necessarily that Wolves have really been doing anything impressively recently, especially goal scoring has been problematic, and I think that always is going to be a problem for them. They're a good underdog to back. I don't necessarily agree with them as a favorite here on the road. I do kind of feel like the Nottingham Forest side, you probably want, I mean, they haven't been playing great either, but this is certainly a situation where the home team will get buoyed by the home crowd, and I feel like Wolves, the road favorite, is something I want to go against. So Nottingham Forest and under look very good to me there. Chelsea then hosts Aston Villa, the nightcap on Saturday. Chelsea, a 3/4 goal favorite with almost all the juice. Over unders 2.25, juice to the under. Villa have been scoring, I think, a goal in every match under Unai Emery so far, which is kind of surprising because he's not an offensive manager, but they're going to go on the road to Chelsea, who've been playing way better than they were a few weeks ago, but a lot of that's been luck. They couldn't hold on to multiple leads against Everton. I'm still in the fade Graham Potter, fade Chelsea camp as much as I can. I would love to get a +1. I don't think I'll see that. Under seems a little bit more risky because Aston Villa has been scoring so much, but I don't know if that necessarily continues. I think Chelsea have shown they can defend. That's about it. So I lean under 2.5 and waiting to see if Villa climb to a +1. Moving to Sunday, West Ham hosts Southampton. Currently West Ham, a 3/4 goal favorite. Over unders 2.25, juiced to the over. Southampton been playing better, but also have huge mistakes in them. And I mean, the Perot defensive situation, plus a lot of injuries to their center backs. I would imagine that the rib situation for Jan Bednarek might still be a problem, though he's really not a good player. And that's the center back you're relying upon. That speaks to just how bad Southampton are and how in danger they are of dropping. Certainly want to see what that lineup looks like, and I don't have that information in front of me. We'll get it an hour before the games on Sunday morning, but lean to under there as I don't trust West Ham to score. Newcastle then hosts Manchester United, a big one at the top of the table. Newcastle trying to get their momentum back. I still don't think they're a good offensive team, but they're favored. Quarter goal favorite at home. All the juice on Manchester United right now. Over under is 2.5, slightly juiced the under. I think I'm more interested in United than I am in the under. I think Newcastle is an under team by far for me. Great defense, kind of not a great offense, but I usually like that situation when they're a favorite. Or excuse me, when they're a favorite, which they are here. But I think Manchester United is more likely to score than Newcastle are. So that makes me really like that quarter of a goal. I do feel like the 7-0 loss at Liverpool might inspire some effort here to get a good showing out of the way. United's a little bit fickle, but I feel like they're the side I want here. Newcastle's defense seems like it's had some creaks lately and some cracks in the foundation that could go wrong. And moving to Monday, Everton hosts Tottenham. Currently, Everton a quarter goal underdog at home. Over unders 2.25, juice to the over. I'm forever in on Sean Dyche. Essentially, love the idea to back his unders, especially this one looks like it's climbed to 2.5. Tottenham are a darling of the markets. They don't perform well enough despite how much money they spend, how good they are. Don't like their strategy, don't like their mentality. I feel like a quarter is kind of cheap, unfortunately. Have to dive deeper into that one to figure out if that's something I really want to mess with, but I still love that under 2.25 getting odds right now. So potentially closing 2.5 by the time we kick off on Monday. For my ultimate best bet for England, I'm going to go with that Nottingham Forest getting a quarter of a goal at home from Wolves. I just feel like undeserving road favorites is my strategy across all sports at this point to fade. Moving to La Liga, we have Mallorca hosting a Club Atletico Osasuna. Currently Mallorca, a quarter goal favorite with almost all the juice right now. Over unders 1 3/4, split juice both ways. Pretty low total, but welcome to La Liga. There's not a lot of offense in that league. Neither of these teams have any offense. And unfortunately, Osasuna has been pretty weak lately running into the international break. They have Copa del Rey on their mind, which I think is coming up in midweek. I don't know if that'll affect their setup, but Mallorca is not really a team that I trust to score goals. Potentially, if this moves to a half of a goal, I think I will be on Osasuna. I still like it at a quarter of a goal, I got to say. But the over-under at 1 3/4 is too low for me. I would have liked under at 2. Moving to Saturday, Girona hosting Espanyol. Currently, Girona a half a goal favorite at home. Over-under is 2.5. Juice to the under. Girona has been scoring a ton of goals in their matches. That's somehow I missed this all the way to this point of the season, that they're really going to try to outscore their opponents. Weird for a newly promoted side to do that, and I feel like I've hit a few unders on them. But Espanyol, where are they going to score goals? That's my biggest question. I think that makes me like under 2.5, if anything. Here we are back, of course, with a Girona under lean, despite just saying that they want to outscore everybody. Problem is, I don't know that Girona is really that trustworthy to score. I feel like Espanyol has kind of realized that they've not been playing well. They're in a relegation battle. Girona are too, but Espanyol, their Joselu goals is really all that comes from that team. Denis Suarez has been a good addition on loan from Celta after their contract disputes. That's been helpful, but ultimately it's hard to see goals in Spanish La Liga matches at this point. Athletic Club then hosts Getafe. Currently Athletic Club a 3/4 goal favorite with all the juice right now. Over under is 2, juice to the over. I'm forever in a camp that I don't believe that Athletic Club are a team that can score goals. I feel like I want to get more than the 2 goals for the over under. If I want to play under, I think 2.25 would be good enough for me to play under there, as I think Getafe are going to go in there and try to beat the ever living, at Athletic Club, try to piss them off, and ultimately try to get in there under their skin and just really try to keep this goalless as long as possible. I think that's great for unders. I don't really see route to goals for Getafe besides Anis Unal or some crazy header or set piece or some ridiculous handball for a penalty, which welcome to La Liga. That's basically how it goes. Athletic Club, they don't have goal scorers, unfortunately. They have a lot of talent. They want to sit back and counter. They're not going to be in that situation against Getafe. So they're a team I like to bet against, especially at San Mamés, because they get way too much credit for that Catedral. Cadiz then hosts Sevilla. Currently, Cadiz a 1/4 goal underdog at home with more of the juice. Over under is 2, juice to the over. Sevilla are not an under team, so I'm a little bit wary of playing under with them, though interested if it climbed to 2.25 or something like that. It's not there yet. Cadiz at home, though, I do like. I feel like they have been so much better this season. They finally had some money to invest in the club after 3 or 4 seasons in the Primera División. I don't still believe in Sevilla. I think they've got a lot of problems. They're definitely better than Cadiz, but Cadiz, I think at home, in front of their home crowd, that's where they get points. And that's another thing I'm trying to lean on, home field, home pitch advantage a little bit more as we're back from the international break. I think the last one of the season, hopefully. Elche then hosts Barcelona. Elche, a 1.5 goal underdog at home. Over under 2 3/4, split juices both ways. This is a dangerous game to want to back Elche under here, because I do feel like that's the only side I could potentially look to. Barcelona's defense has been great, which is not something you'd expect from them. Elche are very unlikely to score. I do think the Elche defense is very, very dangerous here, though, for that under. I'm be waiting to see if 3 pops, because I think the push on 3 would be very important. Certainly not grabbing until I see that. Probably wouldn't grab it even when it does get there. I do think it may. Juice doesn't certainly indicate that that's going to happen, but Barcelona games just haven't been scoring goals in them at all. Celta de Vigo on Sunday then hosts Almeria. Currently Celta a 1 goal favorite. Over under 2.5, juice to the over. I have no interest in fading Celta right now. They've been awesome, playing really well, and I think finally they've put it all together. Gabri Vega has been awesome, even though he couldn't make the Spanish international squad initially. Over under 2.5. I think I lean over here. Celta de Vigo's offense is returned. Their defense is still the weaker link on their squad, and Almeria has some of the worst defense that's out there. Real Madrid then hosts Valladolid. Currently Real Madrid a 2 goal favorite at home. Over under 3.25, juice to the over. I swear Valladolid matches with with totals over 3 that's incredible to me. They are I feel like they're always a team I expect to give their opponents trouble. Their defense has been problematic, but usually that's late in matches because they run out of energy and they don't have the substitutes that they can bring in like Real Madrid would. certainly Vinny Jr. is scary to get run at, but Valladolid are not going to overextend. They do, I think, see themselves a little bit more offensive than they were before the transfer market or the January transfer window. But I don't see where Real Madrid are all of a sudden to score this many goals. I just don't believe in that. They have not been an offense that's been firing. Certainly late in matches, they can score a bunch, but I don't necessarily believe that's enough to really scare me off of an under 3.25 that's currently even money. Villarreal then hosts Real Sociedad. Currently, Villarreal a quarter goal favorite at home. Over-unders 2.25. Juice the under. This is a big match for Villarreal if they're going to try to get that Champions League spot. I think that the club is really more interested in just Europe in general. But Sociedad have not really been playing well. I got to say, though, just based on who these teams are and my disinterest or disapproving nature of Villarreal makes me want to play Sociedad and also lean to under as well. I feel like Sociedad's defense is much better. I think their offense is better, and they're an underdog on the road. So I like that quarter. And I just feel like Villarreal, even with Gerardo Moreno back in the team, they haven't the good results they've been getting don't really feel like they've been deserved. And I feel like Sociedad can go in there and win, even though Villarreal have finally been playing a lot better inside their own stadium after renting their rivals across town for the first half of the year. Atletico Madrid then hosts Real Betis, currently Atleti, a 1-goal favorite, over-unders 2.5, juice the under. Can't argue with this number. I mean, I feel like 1 is pretty big, though Real Betis have not been getting a lot of respect from the marketplace lately. I think that's partly because of injury with Nabil Fekir going down. They lost a lot of their creativity. But Atleti are still not a team I expect to win by multiple goals. They've been playing better, but the schedule's been helping that for sure. And I think that their offense is still not really that trustworthy. Plus, they're playing more of a Simeone style that is take a lead and be a lot more conservative, a la Juventus. I think under 2.5 is also interesting to me. I mean, I think road and under both feel pretty good here, that there's going to be a low scoring match. And that does feel like it favors both underdog and road under. Moving to Monday, Valencia hosts Rayo Vallecano. Valencia in big trouble trying to come back from relegation fight. They weren't prepared for it. They've been trending that way for a while, so it's deserved. I like Rayo getting a quarter of a goal on the road. Over under is 2, juice to the over. I just don't trust Valencia right now. I mean, there's certainly plenty of problems with Rayo as well. I think we'll probably get, I mean, it looks like it's trending towards half of a goal underdog on the road, which I would love. They haven't been a great road team. Rayo has not, but they counterattack, they set you up, and they spring on counterattacks. And I mean, they should have had a win the match before they went into the international break, but had 2 chances at a penalty, scored neither of them. And ultimately blew a big lead that they shouldn't have. But Valencia, I just don't trust them at all. I think more that I feel very good about being against them as much as I can. They are a team that I think could go down despite being such a big club with such a big fan base. And hopefully that'll get their owner to sell and they can return to actually being competent. For my best bet for Spain, I mean, there's a lot of choices here. I feel like the number I was most surprised by was that Valladolid 3.25. I think I'll go with that under 3.25 as my best bet. I just don't think Real Madrid can be relied upon to score that many goals. So I'll do that one. Moving to Italy, we have no Friday matches here either. Cremonese hosts Atalanta Saturday morning. Over under is, I guess I'll start with the side. Cremonese a 3/4 goal underdog at home. All the juice on Atalanta. Over under is 2.75 juice to the under. I feel like Atalanta climbing to a 1-goal favorite probably makes sense, though I'm not sure their play has really deserved it. I feel like they've been pretty fortunate with a lot of their wins lately. I don't necessarily think that I want to play unders in Atalanta matches, though, at least without getting the full 3 goals. Inter Milan then hosts Fiorentina. Currently Inter a 3/4 goal favorite. Over unders 2.5, juice to the over. Fiorentina, they're a decent side. They're better. I think they've been playing better this season. I still don't believe that they're a team that can score a lot of goals. Inter are not a team that I'm very afraid of, but ultimately I feel like they're better than Fiorentina. I think I want a full goal of insurance to play Fiorentina. I don't think I'll get it. And I feel like there could be goals in this one. I wouldn't expect them to be, but that kind of puts me in a middle crossroads where I don't really want to play anything. Juve then hosts Verona. Currently Juve a 1.25 goal favorite. Over under is 2.25, juice to the over. Forever, I like Juventus unders. I don't really necessarily believe that they are a team that's going to go try to paste you or put 3 goals by you. When it happens, it seems to be really fortunate or lucky. Might as well put my phone on do not disturb, as I forget every time to do that. Um, Verona, certainly they've been fighting relegation. They had a really good start coming out of the the January transfer window, built their team up, got some big wins, but then have really kind of been drifting back towards relegation. This is going to be a tough match for them. I think they're going to go in there and try to be defensive. They don't have great defenders, unfortunately, but their offense is very unlikely to score. So I feel like, especially against a team like Juventus on the road. So I think under 2.25 is most interesting to me in that one. Moving to Sunday, we have Bologna host Udinese. Currently, Udinese a quarter goal underdog on the road at Bologna. Over under is 2.25, juice the over. I don't know, in any Bologna matches, it's really hard to see goals coming in any direction. I think Udine, they're a team that I'd like to be against as a favorite, but not necessarily one I want to back as an underdog. I think under 2.25, if anything, is interesting to me in that one, but I'm not really sure that I love it too much. Next I'll move to Monza hosting Lazio. Currently Monza a quarter goal underdog at home. Over under is 2.25, juice to the under. Monza are going to try to go score goals. That's a scary thing to do against Lazio because they want open pitches to try to score themselves. I don't think that Lazio's offense has been great this season. Their defense has been, though. That makes me less interested in backing the home dog, though I do love them clearly. And under 2.25 just feels like there's going to be a lot of risk taken by Monza, especially if they fall behind, and then one goal can lead to 3 very quickly. Spezia then hosts Salernitana. Currently Spezia a quarter goal favorite at home. Over under 2.25, juice to the over. Salernitana haven't been scoring at all, so it makes it really hard to back them as a quarter goal underdog on the road. I feel like this should be a bigger number. It doesn't make me like Spezia necessarily, but there have been goals in Spezia matches, though I guess, I think, unfortunately, until something changes, I think you got to lean under in Salernitana matches because they just haven't been able to score. And Memo Ochoa in goal has been awesome. Roma then hosts Sampdoria. Currently, Roma a 1.25 goal favorite. Over under is 2.25, juice to the over. Roma are playing really well defensively. They're not going to get a lot of challenges to Sampdoria. I feel like the under is the probably most interesting thing to me in this one, especially because it looks like it's trending towards 2.5, and I think Roma can keep a clean sheet fairly easily against a Sampdoria team that just really they're good offensive players, seem to beat for their managers. Doesn't really feel like anything's going well there, and they're potentially going down, just like Genoa did last season. Napoli and AC Milan, the Sunday nightcap. Napoli a half a goal favorite at home. Over under is 2.5, juice to the under. I don't really see a reason to back Milan or to back the under. Napoli's too scary to me. I feel like they're cheap here, and so nothing left to say about that one. Empoli then hosts Lecce Monday, early one. Empoli a quarter goal favorite at home. Over under is 2.25, juice to the under. Empoli have been better. Lecce are a decent side, but I feel like Empoli, you got to trust more to win this match. Certainly very heavy juice on Lecce. Market seems to like Lecce more than I would suspect, but I'm not so interested in that. I think under 2.25 is also interesting. Neither of these teams are very likely to score goals, but I feel like this is going to be a war to try to get as close to safety as possible. I don't even know necessarily I like under 2.25. That's probably my strongest lean, but not very strong in that match. And Sassuolo hosts Torino. Currently Sassuolo a pick'em, very juice at the moment, potentially climbing to a quarter of a goal favorite. Over under is 2.25, juice to the over. Sassuolo are a much better offense than Torino. They've been scoring a ton of goals. They've been playing well. Yeah, the international break probably didn't help, but I think until Torino hits a quarter, I'm not very interested. And I feel like there are two teams, one that plays offensively, one that plays defensively. Makes it hard to be interested in the total as well. So when I go through and try to pick out a best bet in Serie A, I'm going to go with the Sampdoria under 2.25, just because I don't know necessarily that they are going to have more than one shot on goal against Roma. And I think it's going to be really hard for them to score. Next we'll go to the Bundesliga. We do have a Friday match. Eintracht Frankfurt hosting VfL Bochum. Currently Frankfurt a 1.25 goal favorite. Over under is 2.75, juice to the over. Frankfurt they haven't been playing very well. Finally got knocked out of the Champions League, and probably good riddance for them, so they can really focus on their Bundesliga structure and placement, because I don't think they're going to get by Napoli, especially after losing Rendell Koulibaly to a red card in like the 9th minute of the first leg. Brutal for them, because I feel like they were a good team that could have given Napoli a tough round, but didn't happen. Bochum have improved their away form based on playing better defense. They've not been very good on the away from home, but did get a win at Cologne, who've been struggling 2 weeks or whenever the last match was before the last match day, then beat RB Leipzig. So like things are going very well for them. I am back into trusting their defense a lot more than I was before. I think because I knew that they have problems to fix. I feel like 2.75 is a gigantic total. I mean, totals are very high in Germany, but Frankfurt want to counterattack. Bochum want to do the same. I don't feel like there's going to be a lot of offense in this one. So under 2.75 looks just as interesting to me. And I think more interesting than Bochum getting 1.25, because I don't necessarily trust them to score against what should be a pretty regimented Frankfurt defense. RB Leipzig then hosts Mainz on Saturday morning. Leipzig a 1-goal favorite with all the juice right now. Over under is 2.75 juice to the over. Mainz, their offense comes from defense and forcing turnovers. Leipzig really want to counterattack you, use the middle of the pitch, and then ultimately use their pace and their finishers. I don't know if this is necessarily a match that I feel very good backing Mainz. I do like getting a full goal of insurance, but I don't feel like they can come back in a match, and that's really scary for me, especially on the road in Leipzig, where everyone plays very well if you're a Leipzig player at home. Freiburg then hosts Hertha Berlin. Currently, Freiburg a 3/4 goal favorite, very juiced right now. Over under is 2.5, juice to the under. I feel the under lean. I've been getting crushed, unfortunately, on Hertha. Any sort of trusting of Hertha, whether it's their side or trusting their defense. It's been not a great year for me. I probably should avoid, but I do really like Freiburg unders because they are a really great defense that hasn't really shown a lot of scoring ability. I think Hertha are a perfect panacea or a perfect remedy for that. Freiburg probably get some goals here, but I don't know that Hertha really contribute. So I lean to under 2.5, but I'm going to try my best to stay away from it. Schalke 04 then hosts Bayer Leverkusen. Currently Schalke a 0.5 goal underdog at home. Over under is 2.5, juice to the over. Hard to argue with Schalke's form. They're going to be as defensive as possible. And that makes me a little bit worried, only getting a 0.5 goal, but in front of that crowd, they've been playing a lot better. Leverkusen, a really offensive team, but I feel like they win matches and they don't really deserve them. They're also going to leave themselves wide open, which with a lead, certainly that would not be a great start, but I wouldn't be shocked if Schalke can find a way into the goal, really from trailing, or really if they can take a lead. I think that'd put your +1.5 or +1/2 goal in really good shape. I don't think that I can play an under with Leverkusen, though, in their strategy. Union Berlin then hosts VfB Stuttgart. Currently, Union a 0.5 goal favorite. All the juice on Stuttgart on the road. Over under is 2, juice to the over. I'm interested to see if this one climbs, but at the current 2 is probably not good enough for me to play under. Union Berlin, their offense is dried up completely. Stuttgart doesn't play defense very well, so it's a very low total, but I think the market is showing how that no one really expects goals in this one. Wolfsburg then hosts Augsburg. Currently, Wolfsburg a 1-goal favorite. All the juice on Augsburg on the road. Over under is 2.75, juice to the over. But I felt Wolfsburg just like they're a really good underdog to me, but not really one that I want to back as a big favorite. So I think I'm forced into having an Augsburg lean, which I really don't want because I really don't like them very much. They're a very different team on the road, as it feels like all of soccer is now. Over at 2.75 also feels very high. So I like the road dog and the under, but probably not a surprise to anyone that listens to this podcast. Bayern München then hosts Borussia Dortmund and Der Klassiker, a huge matchup, especially at the top of the table. Really weird stuff with Nagelsmann getting sacked, but I'm sure there's a lot going on behind the scenes that none of us will know. Bayern a 1.25 goal favorite. Over under is 3.5, juice to the over. And this is a situation where Dortmund have been really bad in this matchup. They rescued themselves with a huge comeback to get a draw at the death, essentially, at the Signal Iduna Park, which was rocking, and this will unfortunately not go that way for them this time. I do think the Dortmund defense has improved a lot, though, and I feel like there's not a huge gap between these two sides, as you can see it in the Bundesliga table, but I don't think that Thomas Tuchel all of a sudden comes in and makes this all offensive side. I don't really know what he's going to do. He probably will help it defensively, but I feel like with that, he'll trade some offense away. Not a really great situation. I think Dortmund have the ability to challenge here, and getting more than a goal is really hard for me to resist. I think over under 3.5, I lean to under, if anything, but I've kind of learned the hard way. Anytime fading Bayern is a really scary thing. So maybe there's a little bit more value in the under 3.5 than there is in the 1.25, but also I feel like there's a good chance that Dortmund can get a 2-2 draw here, just like they did in the reverse fixture. Lean to Dortmund though, and under, might play both, probably hope for a split, could get both if they if they both work out. But I think there's some value, and I feel like Dortmund is not getting enough respect here. Though in this rivalry, they haven't deserved it for many years. Moving to Sunday, Cologne hosting Borussia Mönchengladbach. Currently, Cologne a quarter goal favorite, a little bit more juice at home. Over unders 2.75, juice to the under. Cologne are a team that I want to go against. It's really hard to do that with Gladbach right now. They've been so bad on the road, and it's really hard to trust. I mean, I feel like there's a low probability that they get the 3 goals in this matchup. It's really tough. I mean, hold your nose in this one. I think there's some value in betting against Cologne at home, that offense, by taking road dog and under. I got to see if I'm really willing to gamble on Sunday morning. Last but not least, in the Bundesliga, Werder Bremen hosting Hoffenheim. Currently, Werder a quarter goal favorite at home. Over unders 2.75, juice to the under. Hoffenheim giving some respect. I don't think it's deserved. They've been so bad this season, are not fit for a relegation battle, but they're in one. Werder Bremen on the other side are just trying to get to safety as quickly as possible because they've been leaking oil like crazy. I understand the market respecting Hoffenheim here. I feel like a quarter is too cheap, especially with a lot of juice right now. But I guess I'm now turning over a new leaf and just suddenly being like, well, when the market is saying something, I should listen. In terms of over-under, Hoffenheim I never saw as an under team until this awful run they've been in. I feel like seeing all these stats about Werder Bremen being so efficient offensively all season, and that's why they have the points they do. It's because their offense is not good enough and they take chances that they really shouldn't. Marvin Dusch and Nicholas Füllkrug are really good up top, but ultimately, like, there's a reason why it took so long for Füllkrug to get into a German national team that could not score any goals at all. It's because he's not someone that they want and not someone that anyone thinks is really good. It's hard. I feel like Hoffenheim, you're ultimately backing them just a quick turnaround in form under Pellegrino Matarazzo when they lost 7 matches in a row. Hard to believe that one match against Hertha Berlin is good enough to do that, though. So I probably should leave that off my best bet for the ultimate best bet portion of the show. I'm going to go with a lot of dangerous games over here. I'm going to go with the Schalke 04 getting a half of a goal at home as home underdogs. I feel like they can give Leverkusen, and they will. I mean, they'll ultimately be really tough. It just depends how many times they can find the net themselves. Last but not least, I'll go through Ligue 1 in France and then get through promo code, give you an ultimate best bet, and then get out of here. For in France, we'll start on Friday match. We have Marseille hosting Montpellier. Currently, Marseille 1 goal favorite at home. Over unders 2.75, juice to the over. This was a little bit higher. I think it was 1.25 last night. Montpellier getting a little respect, which is surprising because they haven't deserved it for years. Really bad defense. I don't think they're going into the Stade Orange Velodrome and doing much. Lean to over, if anything, in that one, which is not something you hear from me very often. I think Angers then hosts Troyes in the Saturday early matchup. Angers just on their, the train's been rolling, trying to stay on the tracks as they move towards safety. Troyes have not been defending whatsoever, so I'm not really interested in backing them as an underdog on the road. And over under 2.5, I lean to under there just because I think Angers have really shown that they are going to defend for 95 minutes every match, and that makes it really hard for me to see 3 goals in this one. Rennes then hosts Lens. Currently, Rennes a pick'em with most of the juice right now, or almost all of it. Over unders 2.5, juice to the under. Lens are going to go in there and try to push Rennes around. Rennes somehow beat PSG every time they play them, but really struggle with everyone else. They've been a much better home team, but I'm not necessarily a believer in that just yet. I think I like Rennes at Lens at the pick'em. Over-under is really hard to pick because Lens are going to be on the front foot. They haven't been scoring as much, but Rennes don't really try to defend either. So lean to Lens, but I want to see them getting a quarter of a goal, and I doubt that happens before kickoff. Moving to Sunday, we have Lille hosting Lorient. Currently, Lille a 1.25 goal favorite with all the juice right now, potentially climbing to 1.5. I've been backing Lorient all season at 1.25 or 1.5. Both would feel really nice. Don't really know that I love under 3, though I do like that push on that 3. And I feel like the match will go where Lorient will defend. Lille will try to go out and score. Certainly can go over. Lille are a team that is going to try to put as many on the scoreboard as possible. But I like both Lorient and under, and I feel like that probably splits at the worst. Brest then hosts Toulouse. Currently, Brest a pick'em. All the juice on Toulouse on the road. Potentially climbing to a quarter of a goal favorite, which then I'll be very interested in Brest, though Toulouse have just been getting screwed by refs left and right. Over unders 2.5, juice to the over. Toulouse are going to try to play an open game, and that speaks to goals being scored, but I don't necessarily believe in really that happening either. So I think I'm looking to see if Brest do move to a quarter goal underdog at home, and I like that under 2.5 as well. And I like when I have a strong feeling that both point to the under and home underdog. Angers then hosts Nice, and I can't really look at Angers anymore, getting 1 goal at home with all the juice right now. Nice are undefeated under the new manager and have been playing really well. But I don't necessarily believe they deserve to be this big a favorite, except they're playing the worst team in France. Over unders 2.25, juice the over. Nothing for me there with Angers. Clermont Foot then hosts Ajaccio. Currently Clermont a 0.5 goal favorite at home. All the juice on Ajaccio on the road right now. I am interested in that Ajaccio getting a half. It's very expensive at the moment. Over under is 2. I also like the under 2. Neither is these two teams can score. I feel like a goalless draw is very likely here. Certainly relegation battle, anything can happen, but I think these are two nervy teams that want 3 points, but also don't want to risk not getting a single one here. So I think Ajaccio +0.5 and under 2 both look very interesting. Nantes then hosts Reims. Currently Nantes a quarter goal underdog at home with all the juice. Over unders 2.25, juice the over. I feel like the Will Still situation is still somehow in play, but I don't necessarily think he's done that much. I feel like Oscar Garcia, if he had gotten a little bit more ramp, could have done a similar thing. I lean to Camboire's side at home. The Nantes crowd is going to be great. Also to the under 2.25. I feel like they're going to be really competitive here. And I don't necessarily trust Reims despite their incredible goal scoring form of Florent Balogun. When I move next to Monaco hosting Strasbourg, Monaco a 1 goal favorite with most of the juice right now. Over under is 2.75, split juice both ways. Strasbourg have been playing a lot better. I feel like that number is huge, but Monaco score a ton of goals. I think it's at the full +1. It's hard for me to look away because that is a gigantic insurance goal. I don't know that I should like under 2.75 if I'm liking the road underdog, but I don't necessarily think I do. I think Strasbourg have been playing really a lot better once they move Ajorc on and have been playing Gamera and ultimately Habib Diallo, but I don't know. I feel like that's a little bit scary, even to take a +1 if I don't like the under. Last but not least, PSG visit Lyon, which is going to make me have to go back and redo my Lille and Lorient thoughts. My bad. But PSG hosts Lyon. Currently, PSG a 1.25 goal favorite. Over under 3.25. Juice the under. Lyon, if they were smart, they're going to play defensively here. I don't know that they really have that in them, which is kind of a problem, to put it that way. And I don't really necessarily know what they're going to do to try to fix that, but ultimately, I think it's tough to say because Lyon want to outscore everybody, but that's exactly what PSG want to do. They really want to counterattack you and have an open pitch to run at against Lyon. And I think that's going to work for them. Makes it really hard for me to want to back Lyon. I got to say, getting a more than a goal from PSG who have not been playing very well. Over under 3.25 looks like a gigantic number for this matchup, but also could go over. There's not a lot for me to say here. And I guess I got to go back and do Lille versus Lyon. I thought that it was Lyon. It's actually Lille hosting Lorient, which to me, Lille have been scoring a ton of goals, but I would think a Lyon spread is what we have here. I'm even more interested in Lorient getting 1.25 goals. And I think I like that under 3 even more because Lille, I just don't really necessarily, they've been a good offense, certainly, but they're not going to have a lot of space. Lorient's going to close that down. And I feel like that's been one of the best bets in all of European soccer is playing Lorient as an underdog or their unders, because they're really good at restricting the opponent. They do have some potency as well. It's tough for me to yes, when I mistake the team, it's not great, but I still believe that it's going to be a hard time for Lille, even at home. They might get a goal late. That might skew things a little bit, but I don't necessarily think that's something I'm too afraid of when I'm making a bet. So for my ultimate best bet for France, I'm going to go with the Stade Brestois under 2.5 hosting Toulouse. I think that is going to go under. Very interested in Ajaccio as well, but I think Stade Brestois under 2.5. That'll be my best bet. So now it's before we get to the ultimate best bet, promo code time. If you're listening on anywhere, appreciate it wherever you are. Also want to let you know about my Patreon account. It's a much more affordable way to get my thoughts on all sports, soccer, college basketball, baseball. Season just kicked off yesterday, or pitched off through the first pitch yesterday. Get in there, $20 a month, way cheaper than you can get anywhere on the other sites. I'm still on the other ones, of course, still doing the podcast stuff as well. But just want to give a little bit more people, a little bit more insight into what I'm doing. And I feel like that's a much cheaper way to get involved. Would love commentary, get a lot of it already on there, trying to get some more. Go check me out, patreon.com/thereal_G Warner. As for pregame, still picks coming out each night. You get my full cards before, and then you can figure out if you want to play the stock market with it. Use a promo code KICK20, get 20% off for all listeners of the soccer podcast. Good for 7 days from podcast release. I get a little bit of credit, not money necessarily, but people like me a little bit more if you use it. So use the promo code KICK20, get my stuff. Any of my co-hosts, AJ Hoffman's doing college basketball with me all season. That's winding down, but I'm sure he's got UFC cards coming out if you're into the fighting stuff. Scott Seidenberg as well, my new baseball co-host. He's doing a ton of baseball stuff all there. Get on there, join, grab my things. You got all full season packages, to the World Series, to the All-Star break. If you want to try me out, do what you want. But I'm here putting stuff out there every night, barely sleeping, but it's worth it because I enjoy it. Use the promo code KICK20 for anything, 20% off on pregame.com. And I guess now it's time for the ultimate best bet. I'm the real_G Warner on Twitter and Instagram. This is betting the pitch number 180 for my ultimate best bet, covering the top 5 European soccer leagues. Very interested in Nottingham Forest plus a quarter of a goal in England. I like Valladolid under 3.25 in Spain. I like Sampdoria under 2.25 in Italy. Schalke 04 plus 1/2 goal at home in the Bundesliga. And last but not least, Stade Brestois under 2.5 in France. For my best bet across all the leagues, I'm going to go with Nottingham Forest getting a quarter of a goal at home from Wolves. I feel like Wolverhampton has not really been the same team that they were under Julian Lopetegui when he first came in. Things have gotten worse for them. They're now a road favorite. I don't think they deserve to be. Nottingham Forest, no prom queen for sure. Newly promoted side that is trying to stay in the league, but they're going to have a huge crowd behind them. I love Stevie Cooper, and I think it's going to be a low-scoring match that might not even see any goals. So take that quarter of a goal, take it all the way to the bank, and join me the next time on the podcast if you want to hear more and more thoughts on anywhere you can find it. And that'll do it for this episode, betting the pitch number 180. Again, if you're on Twitter, please hit the follow button, the real_G Warner. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. If you're on Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star review, or Spotify, please both leave a 5-star review. Like it, tell your friends, get on here, and try to find some more winners as we now race into the end of the season. We've got a long way to go, and there's a lot of money to be made. Thanks for coming around, and I will talk to you all soon.